on some level, we all knew that the pandemic would smack right into fire season, right? I mean, like in the back of our minds, we kind of knew like, oh, what happens when we have to evacuate during a pandemic? And then it actually happened much sooner than we thought after those wild lightning storms that we had back in August. And I just think it came much sooner than any of us were expecting. And it hit us much harder than many of us were anticipating. And those weird, eerie orange Blade Runner skies, I think really kind of hit a lot of us in a deep and fundamental way. Like, wow, this is really strange times got stranger. Let's just say that. It was hard on us, on our health. It was hard on us emotionally. It was hard on our lives, on our work. Don't go outside, can't be inside. It was just crazy. So I just want to acknowledge how difficult things have been and how resilient all of us are. And just as a point, if any of us really needed a further reminder of the consequences of an unsafe and unstable climate, then this season of fires, which is really just in its early stages, let's hope that we've gotten through the worst of it. These plumes of smoke from a burning West Coast really should remind us all how serious the challenge we face is and how important the work is that each and every single one of you is doing to help us achieve a better world. I mean, it's almost like I hear the smoke is reaching Europe now. So, I mean, like if you remember that old volcano from way back in the day, before any of us were around, this crisis is Krakatoan in scale. And that's why what we're doing here today is so important. And that's why what each of you does in your daily work is so important. And particularly as we witness the unequal impact that these overlapping crises are having on frontline communities, I realize today's topic, which is how to make a clean transition also a just and equitable one, is more important than ever. So our work is to advance these goals, and it's only possible because of your support. So I'd like to take a moment to share my screen with you and just thank all of the sponsors and all of the members and all of the folks who are part of this organization, the Climate Center's Business Network. Some sponsors have renewed their memberships. I'd like to thank Bodine and Calpine. Some members have joined for the first time. I'd like to thank Bloom Energy coming in at the diamond level, Redwood Credit Union that has renewed, and Hobo Wine Company that is a regular member. They make quarterly contributions through 1% for the planet, which is a super way to do it. Y Green Energy Fund, Willow Creek Wealth Management that recently upped their membership with us. Thank you for that. Soyland Company, Mark Soyland, always a great source of inspiration to me personally. We have MCE, Marin Clean Energy, as a new member, as well as Sonoma Clean Power, Recology, Osmosis, Somo Village. All of these companies are doing great work and are supporting us. And we thank each and every one of you for what you do. Terra Verde Energy recently upped their sponsorship of our organization. We thank them. Also, some of our other new members, Blue Planet Energy, we'll be hearing about in just a moment. I look forward to learning more about what they're doing. And all of our solar members and all of our small businesses that are as committed as the large businesses. It really doesn't matter what level you join us. The fact of your commitment is what really matters to us. Strauss Creamery recently renewed. Mission Capital, thank you, Jerry, for being a part of our organization. Williams Geo Adventures, I mean, there's just such a range of different companies, and Guayaquil and Amy's and Summit State Bank and Cary Fargo. Thank you, Vanguard Properties, for being a part of this network. LabCon, Ken Roberts, Financial Pathways. Doesn't matter what your business is, we all care about the climate. Prunsky Chatham, I know Stephen Chatham was going to be with us. He had to not, yet something came up, but another supporter, they do restoration work. Synergy Solar and all of our solar companies that have been part of this organization for now, some of you for a number of years, and we thank you all. And it doesn't really matter, big companies, small companies, Beneficial State Bank, bikepartners.net, Keegan and Cup and Sunlight and Power, Traditional Medicinals, all of you, Green Mary, thank you for being a part of this organization, and thank you for supporting our work. So I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that in the midst of all of this, all of you are stepping up and still being a part of this organization. And why? Why? Because we all care about this planet. And if we want a future for California that is clean, affordable, resilient, equitable, and safe, then we need to work together to advance what we call our Climate Safe California platform. And Climate Safe California is a science-based platform that addresses the whole range of issues around the climate and is basically a pathway to get us to net zero emissions within this decade. It's ambitious, but it's doable. And it's doable if we all do it together. Many of you have endorsed that platform, and those of you who have, I thank you. But not all of you have yet endorsed that platform. And so I'd like to ask my colleague Barry to drop a link, there it is, into the chat. And I encourage all of you, either now or even better, later, go to that link, take a quick look, and please, please, please consider endorsing as an individual and as an organization. We would like every business that's a member of the Business Network to endorse Climate Safe California. If you read it and you say yes, just fill out the form. It's very simple, endorse it. If you endorse it as a business, send us your logo and we'll put that up on our endorsement page. Over 500 individuals, business leaders, and elected officials have already endorsed this platform, including Jared Huffman, State Senator Mike McGuire, and many of the business leaders that are here with us today. So thank you all for that. And let's get on with the main subject. Before we get to our primary speaker, I'd like to introduce our member spotlight, which is one of our newest members, Blue Planet Energy, who do some great work on advancing our common missions, engineering and deploying clean energy systems. But to introduce us to that work and tell us how it's advancing our common mission, I'd like to turn the floor over to their CEO, Chris Johnson. Take it away, Chris.
Thank you, Duran. And I couldn't imagine when I was with you all back in December that it would be so long before we get back together again. So great to see you virtually here today and to share the story of Blue Planet Energy. As Duran said, I'm the CEO, Chris Johnson. I'm based in the Bay Area. And Blue Planet Energy was started over 5 years ago with the mission to end the use of carbon-based fuel. And the founder, Hank Rogers, who and my colleague Olaf is going to share a couple of slides here just to give us a little visual aid. But our founder, Hank Rogers, many of you may know from having lost many hours staring at a screen playing the video game Tetris, is a successful entrepreneur in many regards. But about 15 years ago, he had a near-death experience. And now, since then, he's dedicated his whole life to this mission, to ending the use of carbon-based fuel. And in Hawaii, at his house in Honolulu, he went to put solar panels on his, and the utility wouldn't let him interconnect, saying there was already too much solar in his area. And so he realized at this time that energy storage was the key to enabling greater renewable adoption. And so he set out to make the best solution he could, really looking at safety and longevity and finding something that fit his sustainability ideals. So looking for non-toxic and solutions that don't have these fire risks that we hear about in some of the battery solutions. He took his whole house off grid and has been living off grid for 6.5 years now. So that battery, which became our first generation product, has now been cycled over 1,300 times. And we really started it with a focus on the off-grid market. But after Hurricane Maria clobbered Puerto Rico and took the whole island off grid for so much time, we set our staff in to see how can we support this rebuilding. And since then, we've really moved heavily into this resilience space as well with our solutions. And so now we have products for both residential, commercial, and critical infrastructure, and just a history of a lot of work with nonprofits, with community organizers, with leaders to make sure that we can make the biggest impact we can to both decarbonize, so really addressing the climate mitigation as well as the climate adaptation. We need both the renewables to be used as well as we need the resilience in our system. So this is our 2.0 product, which we've had out for about 3.5 years now. And it's very scalable. As you can imagine, with Tetris behind the company, he likes things to fit together nicely. And so what we actually found was that scaling these up by adding many systems actually became something that we could do that differentiated us from other solutions out there. So both small and medium commercial systems as well as large residential systems. And really, we addressed the issue that energy storage is hard. And we've tried to design our products and the way we deliver them to the market to really make it easier for our partners. We have over 200 dealers who are the ones out there actually installing these systems, So we've bundled everything together. This is our newer commercial system here. So we've made it easy by getting all the software, all the components that you need to have a battery-based microgrid. You can integrate all kinds of resources, whether that's a generator or solar or wind or the grid, and really have the versatile functionality that we think is necessary for today's energy-intensive uses. And so we're really happy to be here and really supporting the mission. And Olaf, I don't know if you have a little overview of kind of some of the critical infrastructure work we've done in Puerto Rico. I'd like to just definitely give a little shout out to this work, because really proud of our team and what we've been able to do there. So just an example of some of the use cases there. We work with several nonprofit partners to make this happen, because a lot of the federal funding never came to Puerto Rico in the rebuilding. So we have over 100 remote community water pumping systems. We worked with the largest bank on the island to provide battery backup for their ATMs and servers. And then we worked with the American Red Cross to put 125 microgrids at emergency shelters across the island. This is now the largest energy resilience project in the country. It's almost 6 megawatts of solar and about 11 megawatt hours of our Blue Ion 2.0 batteries. In the process, it actually became a green jobs economic building process. So we trained over 1,000 installers on the island, and there was over 100 jobs generated through that building process. So with that, I want to pass it over for a little bit to my colleague Olaf to introduce himself as well.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks everybody for joining. Really excited to be here and working with Blue Planet Energy. A few of you might have known me from my previous work at Sonnen. So I've worked in energy storage for close to 7 years now, and really excited to have joined Blue Planet Energy, especially because I'm so excited about the opportunities that microgrids pose for us, for our further development. And yeah, just pulled up another great example here. Blue Planet Energy and Gardner Energy came together and installed an off-grid system for Red Rock Country. The university out there is really out in the middle of nowhere, and just solar and the batteries power that facility and keep it clean, quiet, and very efficient. So I imagine there's quite a few use cases that you can imagine in your market very specifically. So I'm the regional sales manager here in California. We're not just dropping the product into our partners' labs. No, we support you from A to Z on the sales training, on the technical side, and also on the support down the road. Even though our battery systems have a 15-year warranty and are maintenance-free, we're really there for the long run to accompany your customers to provide clean and resilient power. I hail down from Orange County, but have done quite a bit of work with some partners, also with the CCAs up in your region. And I'm really excited to help you achieve your goals. And I truly believe that the Blue Ion is the perfect technology to actually get you there. So yeah, my contact information is here. Happy to share those slides with you as well. So reach out, happy to chat.
Thank you, Olaf, and thank you, Chris. It's great to have you be a part of our network, and thank you for sharing those great stories. I'm especially inspired by the work that you've done in Puerto Rico. Although, of course, every time you install a battery, it makes the world a little bit greener and helps the grid everywhere. So thank you for that. And if you don't mind, Olaf, turning off your screen share, thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. It's great. I mean, it's you guys, it's our members that really make this happen. So thank you all. So I'd like to now move to our keynote speaker, and to introduce our keynote speaker, I'd like to invite our board member, Terea McComber, to say a few words. Terea, if you're ready, I'd like to turn the floor over to you to introduce our main speaker.
Thanks, Duran. Good morning, everyone. I was finishing up a pretty good breakfast, actually, because I went grocery shopping yesterday. But my name is Terea McComber. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the electric vehicle director at Grid Alternatives. I'm also a board member at the Climate Center. And the movement for Climate Safe California is the strategic vision of the Climate Center, where we really hope for the transition to clean energy and clean transportation, it's done in a just, and equitable, and intentional way. Policy, regulation, and implementation needs to be led by Californians that are impacted the most and have the most on the line. I'm so excited to and privileged to introduce Wanda Lee Stevens. Wanda has over 15 years of experience in recruitment, HR management, and training experience, as well as facilitating workshops. Amazing facilitator. She brings her embodied commitment to racial justice to her work by intentionally developing inclusive and equitable recruitment and HR processes and practices as well. In my opinion, when I was getting my MBA, I realized in my HR 101 class, diversity and inclusion work has to be grounded in human resources in every company and organization to continue to surface and dismantle institutionally racist practices and processes. Wanda does this as Grid's talent and acquisition director, and she even hired me. She has this wonderful picture of me when I got my offer letter. So Wanda will always have a special place in my life. Wanda is also an incredible writer and the author of 50 Years of Assimilation, which chronicles the post-civil rights movement in parallel to her life as a Black woman born in the 60s. With that, I welcome Wanda. Thank you. And yours.
That pressures. Good morning. And thank you for that wonderful introduction, Torea. I was having difficulty finding my cursor to disable the mute. I wanted to first thank you, Barry and Doran and BC and Torea for the invitation. And thank you all for coming to meet and hear from me today. Appreciate the attendance. Can you see my screen okay? It looks like because I have it on my second monitor, it's good because it's blown up so big on my end. It looks good on your end? All right, great. Okay. To the next slide. So all of those,
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So all of those things Torea said is a little bit about me. And I came today as a Grid Alternatives representative, but also as an author, activist, citizen. I started my working in the solarverse, as we like to call it, in 2011 with Sungevity Solar, and I've been plugged into solar and renewable energy ever since. It's very addictive. What I enjoy most about my work in this industry is that, in simple terms, it inspires hope for clean living, coexisting as a species with nature versus destroying it. And it also inspires freedom and the economic freedom of having life's basic needs met without the sacrifice of your quality of life. And for those reasons, I'm all in. I've worn many hats as listed here on the slide, but absent of all the titles and the things that I've done, who I am at my core as a human living on Earth, and this Black female body is the last bullet, you know. I enjoy all of those things that I do. I'm a helicopter mom in recovery, having an 18 and 20-year-old young adults who do not like to be treated like children anymore. But at my core, I am joy, creativity, and community. If you ask anyone who knows me, that's how they will end up describing who I am after they get past all of the titles. And for me, joy, creativity, and community are renewable energies. So my subject matter today is climate justice must be anti-racist, and with that lens of HR, I'll be talking about. This is GRID's latest internal and external tag logo that we created with the intended actions to do our part to mitigate and eradicate the climate of racism that we all inherited. It's one of the many actions that GRID has taken to champion a transition to clean, renewable energy that includes and benefits everyone. I'm losing my voice. I will tell you more about some of the many actions we've implemented over the last 2 years that that have created a movement and an evolution of change within GRID, also for our clients and each of us as employees. But before I do any of that, I wanted to share a little bit of history I recently learned that illustrates the importance of doing mindful work, as well as speaking truth to power by naming a thing what it is. So I said a moment ago that we all inherited this climate of racism. None of us alive today were there at the birth of the legacy of enslavement or the birth of the plantation capitalism that we're currently living under. But we are all living with its derivatives and consequences. So I would feel remiss not to include this history in any presentation that I give on anti-racism. This short 2-minute video is time-lapsed. Is a time-lapse accounting of the transatlantic slave trade. It documents the passages and the number of ships that traveled across the Atlantic with human cargo destined for chattel slavery. The brown dots are the ships. The brown dots that you'll see are the ships, and in the variation in size of the dots represent the size of the ships. The video represents 10 million, excuse me, kidnapped Africans, 20,000 voyages in a time span of 315 years. But that was the longest 2 minutes you've spent recently, right? Watching that. How many of you halfway through thought, is this it? Is it gonna end? It's too much. In a clean mobility discussion that I had recently with Teresa, she almost knocked me out of my chair when she said to me that the transatlantic slave trade was powered by clean energy. That was bone shaking for me to hear her say that, because I had never thought about that piece of history in that way. And it was one of those retrospective revelations that was never framed in that context, because we really didn't talk about clean energy before, and especially during that time. But in retrospect, it certainly was true. So I recalled and shared this video for a couple of reasons. The first one is it's a powerful and memorable visual of Teresa's statement. The second one is to teach history that will hopefully foster more understanding and inspire more corrective actions. And also to illustrate that clean energy is great, as Doran mentioned yesterday to Teresa and I, that we have to be mindful about the clean energy work that we do and how we do it, and not automatically assume that clean energy equates to being morally better. I found this quote and I really like it. The single biggest thing I've learned from an indigenous elder of Cherokee descent, Stan Rushworth, who reminded me of the difference between a Western settler mindset of I have rights and an indigenous mindset of I have obligations. Instead of thinking that I am born with rights, I choose to think that I am born with obligations to serve past, present, and future generations and the planet herself. So fast forward to present day, and we're living in a global, social, political climate of fear, divisiveness, and separation. And if I'm to be honest, it's not new, and it is just now being recorded, because practically everyone has a camera phone and access to social media. With the election of Barack Obama, it was a dichotomy, and it showed us that whites will align with Blacks to affect change. But it also awakened and reemerged a deep-seated level of hate that we thought was in the past. And then, of course, this spring's murders of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and the public lynching of George Floyd showed us how real that hate is, and that we have so much more work to do as a nation and a people. So what are our obligations? When I grew up, being a child of the 60s, and inheriting what I say was Dr. King's dream, which is the theme of my book. It's my dream report to Dr. King. I grew up in a climate of, for people that look like me, with sentiments like this: we're the last hired and first fired. Don't rock the boat. Keep your head down. Work twice as hard. This is what my parents, my neighbors, and my community members lived with. This was their version of freedom. And it was mine too when I entered college, when I entered corporate America, and the neighborhoods I chose to live in and raise my family. And many elements of that was the way it was for me and my peers. So having all of that in the pre-cortex of our brains most certainly dampened and weighed down our enthusiasm. For me personally, it weighed down my renewable energy of joy, creativity, in my community. These impacts rendered a false or subdued level of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and also, if you really think about it, business productivity and the bottom line. At GRID, one of the things that we did initially was to create our future, our mission, and our vision. Who are we going to be? What is our EI, equity, inclusion, and diversity statement? This statement here is what we put on every single job description. It's our baseline statement, and it's there so that people know on the onset that it's what we are about at GRID. And it reads, at GRID, we care about each other and know that each employee has a whole self that includes life outside of work. Our culture supports learning, growth, and well-being of all of our team members. Every member of GRID must participate in the organization's equity, inclusion, and diversity work. And it levels up for management. These are the baseline expectations for every employee. but as you rise in the ranks, you also rise in responsibility of doing the organization's equity, inclusion, and diversity work. I really appreciate the work that GRID is doing because the corporate human climate is more important in order to get people aligned together to do the work that we need to do for the climate itself. And because of the commitment that they have and the work resources that they have dedicated to these efforts, I've experienced a new level of freedom for me, to be who I am, to bring my whole self to work, my whole Black self to work without the fears of being ostracized, othered, ignored, marginalized, reprimanded, or fired. And that is something that I hope that you will be able to offer that level of freedom to your employees and to your clients and also your corporate partners and vendors. At GRID, we're not afraid to talk about what happened, how it impacts us, and what solutions we can create together to make a difference. GRID really appreciates the opportunity for us to dive into this subject matter in order to allow for the full expression of all of our employees to participate fully, which creates a culture that is highly creative and highly collaborative and highly productive. When we set our minds to doing something, we are able to move beyond any borders, whether they're erroneous borders or real borders, and get the work done. Back to our obligations of serving each other and the planet. I like to also share the quote of one of my favorite writers, Ibram X. Kendi, I can leave that out. He says, to be an anti-racist is to think nothing is behaviorally wrong or right, inferior or superior with any of the racial groups. Whenever the anti-racist sees individuals behaving positively or negatively, the anti-racist sees exactly that, an individual behaving positively or negatively. Let me say that again. An individual behaving positively or negatively, not representatives of whole races. To be an anti-racist is to de-racialize behavior, to remove the tattooed stereotype from every racialized body. Behavior is something humans do, not racists do. That's a freedom that I have not been able to express prior to being, or experience, excuse me, because I know that when I walk into a room, there's a series of labels that are also attached to me that I have to weed through by my actions and my behaviors. So some of the steps that we've taken at GRID include, and I know that Doron had mentioned that, you guys are, many of you are CEOs and executives and want to have some answers and some actions that are things that you can take with you to implement, but that you can't really deliver that in 20 minutes. So instead of the 20-minute preparation to do that, I decided to just give you a quick overview of some of the things that we've actually been working on for the full 2.5 years, almost 2.5 years that I've been there, but they've actually had started this work, the equity, inclusion, and diversity work 5 years ago. So it's not new. And I do want to also share with you all that we're dealing with a 400-plus-year-old problem. And as much as I personally would like to have it be solved and be over with when I wake up tomorrow morning, I know that, human behavior takes time to change. We all love our habits and everybody has them, both good and bad. And some of us will die for some of those habits, right? So I'm saying that to say, yes, solutions are important and answers are important, but everything is going to take some time. And so the fact that we've been working on it for 5 years and more intensely 2 years ago when we hired our first person of accountability for diversity, equity, and inclusion, we have ramped it up quite a bit. So, and it's coming in at all levels. So these are some of the things that we've done. Most impactful for me has been the internal and external communications. If you've been on GRID's website anytime recently, which I won't show you here, but you can go, afterwards. You'll see our impact statements that we've made and our declarations in our support of the Black Lives Matter movement and also the things that we've done. You'll see our demographics on our hiring and how we have diversified our team and continue to diversify our team at all levels. And then you'll see also our impact to date on the job training and the workforce development and the things that we've made available, similar to Blue Planet. Noticing my hair is uneven here. So these, in terms of the external communications, we're being more visible on that. Internal communications, we're doing a lot of training on actual languaging, how we say the things that we say to each other, as well as our communities at large. The training, the EIB training is coming and has come in various phases. We've had training that includes consultants coming in and training cohorts of up to 20 people each. That included folks from all levels of the organization. So we had executive directors and managers sitting in with some of our coordinators and some of our Solar Core fellows. And so those cohorts were performed last year. We had 4 of them, and that included about a third of our staff members. And then we received a grant for another opportunity to take 22 of our team members, and I was fortunate enough to be a part of that team, to go to Alabama, to Montgomery, specifically to Brian Stevenson's organization, the EJI initiative. And we also toured the 2 museums that he opened. The first one was the Legacy Museum, which is his museum on the impact of prison. He said that slavery never ended, it evolved. And then the second museum was the National Center for Peace and Justice in Montgomery, Alabama as well. So it was somewhat of a civil rights tour. We spent 4 days there. We engaged with the museum curators as well as a couple of facilitators to have us walk through the museums and also have breakout sessions for us to go sit and gather and talk about what we just witnessed. Very powerful, very impactful. Another thing we did was have accountability teams. We created regional and national, as well as headquarters equity, inclusion, and diversity teams. And those were all people that wanted to volunteer to do the work. And so they help with the director to carry out the messages and the learnings to the whole team at large. How am I doing on time? I lost track. I'm good. Okay. How many more minutes? 2, a little bit. Okay. All right. So I'm going to wrap it up a little bit, but there's things that we're doing now where we're looking at our supply chain and our vendor vetting, and we're asking them what their work is in the equity arena. So that's one way you can impact change. We also are shopping for perhaps a different banking partner that we know that does more work in the communities to lift other communities up versus just take the money out. Ongoingly policy change that's been at the core of our business. And then the leadership accountability we're creating right now, a set of specific measurable targets for our leadership team in order to track how well they are doing as well with the work. And then the other thing that I thought was really interesting that we did recently was we created this decision-making processes that involved more than executives to make the decision. So it's really exciting to be at GRID right now. We are walking the walk that we talk. Folks are being freed up and renewing energy all over the place for your enthusiasm for work. I can easily put in 60 hours, not that I'm recommending that, but it doesn't even feel like I'm working because of my passion for the work that we're doing with our communities and how we're evolving as individuals within the corporation, and the freedom that I have for me as a Black woman to be in an organization that I don't have to be afraid to just be who I am, or to even wear my hair curly and come to work and do good work and be valued and be listened to and be heard. So that's my soapbox about grid. With that, I just want to leave you with a little bit of a nudge on, change hearts is where we need to start. This climate change is not going to happen until our hearts are changed to, spread the goodness to everyone and not just leave other folks on the side. Change hearts changes minds, changes behavior, change policy, changes the world, and more happiness and all of that change equals more business productivity, because I had to tie something to your bottom line. So thank you for that. That's my book, 50 Years of Assimilation, for a little shameless self-promotion. Those are my sections in the book. The contents are the capture, the seasoning, the labor, the emancipation, liberation, and freedom. And it chronicles, as Taria said, post-civil rights life in America as me. Thank you. Is that 20 minutes?
That was great. That was great, Wanda. 25, but that's 25 minutes well spent.
Oh, geez, I'm sorry. Okay.
It's fine. It's fine.
It was faster in person. By myself.
It always is. No problem. Thank you so much. I would like to invite perhaps a conversation or some questions. And Wanda, if you don't mind unsharing your screen, I would appreciate that. And then I can see everybody again. So first of all, thank you, Wanda. I was deeply moved. I think probably many of us were. I was kind of crying a little bit actually during that video. It's so much more than dots. I mean, very, very, very powerful. And I really appreciate the energy that you bring to your work. You asked me and Barry when we first met, what's your superpower? And I think that's a good question to ask. I think a question we should each ask of ourselves, like, what is our superpower? I would say your superpower is addressing really powerful, really deep, and really meaningful stuff from a place of joy, which is an incredible balance to have. You probably have other superpowers I don't know about yet. But anyway, thank you for bringing that one to bear. And I'm sort of looking around at the group, and I'm wondering if anybody has any thoughts or comments. If you do, please raise your hand. I would love to get a chance to interact here. If anybody has anything that they would like to share on these subjects, now is a good time to do it. I don't see a lot of hands yet. I think we're all just kind of like absorbing. I see Mary. Mary, go ahead, Mary.
Thank you, Mary.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Wanda. Are you Wanda Lee?
Wanda.
Wanda, okay. I was wondering in the DEIB what the B stands for.
Belonging. Thank you for that.
Belonging.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's kind of the latest.
I am a small business owner in Sonoma County and have just launched a nonprofit arm as well, and have every intention and indeed legal mandate to be doing diversity training and sexual harassment training, et cetera. And the business has been laid flat by our COVID virus pandemic. And I was wondering if there's subcontractors who do human resources to hire to do that battery of vital training and education.
There's definitely organizations that do that. I'm actually also working as a consultant. With the COVID, we have had some furloughs at Grid just to balance the books and to keep everyone there and on healthcare for the rest of the year. So I have supplemented that with doing some diversity training, consulting work as well. But I do have other resources that are local to California as well as across the nation I can provide to Doran later on today. A list of
Wonderful.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I know it's important to do.
Yeah, so one day if you do share those resources, I will share them with the group.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I saw Emily turned on her camera. Is that because you wanted to ask a question, Emily? Make a comment, please. Oh,
I hear you.
nope. Can't hear you. I wonder why.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, hi. No, I didn't actually have a question at all. I just didn't realize my screen was dark until you enlarged, stopped the presentation. So good morning, everybody. Great presentation. Love grid alternatives. I know of your excellent work from working at Marine Clean Energy for many years before
Nice.
moving to Y-Green. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily, and thank you for being here. And thank you for your question earlier, Mary. I'm wondering, before we move on to our peer-to-peer sharing, I just want to make sure everyone has a chance. If you would like to comment or ask a question of Wanda while we're all still here together, now is a good time. I'm sort of looking through the group. Chris, go ahead, Chris.
Thanks. Yeah, Wanda, great presentation. I'd love to hear, we're, I'd say, kind of early on in launching our own diversity, equity, inclusion program. And I'm curious about how you structure it at Grid. We don't have like a person who like that naturally fits in their job description to run. So we've done it through a committee, and then we participate in the campaign by the group called CEO Action, which has a statement that you sign on to, and then that's how you kind of resource and deploy around. So that's kind of how we've organized it and had people take on the head of each of those commitments. But I'd love to hear like how it's structured. How do you actually work it? How does it operationally happen at Grid?
It actually started with the hire. I mean, there was a committee first before she came on board. There was the executives, the co-founders, and a handful of executives that had made the declaration that we want to make an impact in this area, because we are servicing these communities, and we see, we can see firsthand what it looks like for them and what the problems are and where the barriers are. And so they did that until it wasn't effective enough anymore. You will need a person that is their sole accountability to drive the team, because it's hard to factor off your other, KPIs that you have on your day-to-day regular job, until you get to a point where there's no separation, because right now people are still viewing it as separate from the business. And so you're going to need that head person to manage and drive the initiatives to make it not be separate, to really infuse it into who you are as an organization. I don't think you can accomplish that until you have a person accountable for it, that's their sole job. Because what happened in real life in operations is that the other work that you're accountable for will always trump that quote unquote extra work. So that would be my first recommendation. Like, find the money. it's that important.
Thank you for that, Wanda, and thank you for that excellent question, Chris. I think it's kind of a key question. If there's anybody else who would like to ask a question of Wanda right now, please put your hand up.
Let me add on to that.
Please, Wanda, why don't you take it home for us?
If you don't have a dedicated, budget for that, and you can't do it right away, you could also have consultants from the outside that is dedicated to your organization to apply the structures and so that you can operationalize everything. So that could be an alternate choice. If use them for 3 to 6 months to come in and do the research of the organization, and then make the recommendations for change.
Absolutely, that's great. And some of those resources that you offered to Mary earlier might also be helpful in this regard. So again, we'll share them with the whole group afterwards. So thank you for that, Wanda. And whether it's yourself or someone else, I think that there are resources out there, and it's certainly an investment worth making. And I know, Taria, you do need to leave for your retreat. So thank you for being here this morning. And for the rest of us, I would like to, first of all, once again, thank you, Wanda. Please stick around. We're going to move into the next phase where we get to hear from some of the members. And I think this is a really important time for us all to just kind of check in. We're all kind of isolated in our home offices. We don't have, as Chris mentioned when we first gathered, the same kind of like organic opportunities that used to exist. Oh, I would just run into somebody at a business breakfast, or at an event or at a conference out in the hallway, and we chat, how you doing? So think of this as that sort of moment where we, just sort of like talk a little bit about what's happening. I see people on my screen in a certain order, so I'm going to call on you. When I call on you, if you don't want to say much, just unmute your microphone and, say a few words. But I'd like to offer everyone a minute or so to give us an update. This is our peer-to-peer sharing. This is where everyone has an opportunity to talk about what's going on in your business or your life, or really whatever it is that you want to share, whether you want to reflect on what we've heard today, or whether you want to do sort of a traditional update for us on your company and your business. Either way, the minute is yours. So I see Ken Roberts is one of the first folks I see on my screen. So Ken, I'd like to offer you a minute to share whatever you'd like to share.
Thanks, and thanks for that great presentation, Wanda. My business home property is going through a lot of changes, just upgraded to a 21st century electric vehicle, and looking at perhaps including it as energy storage component of the home property, looking at moving my solar production into 21st century technology, and realizing how fast the field is changing, both at the local level and also at the way it interacts with the grid and beyond, and still eager to find an organization or individuals who consult with small operations for bringing that progress forward, maybe up to the neighborhood level. And very appreciative of what so many folks are doing in this field. That's it.
Thank you, Ken. And by the way, I'll mention your company's name is Financial Pathways. So thank you for being here and thank you for sharing with us. I appreciate it. I'd like to move next to Jerry Guffey of Mission Capital. If you'd like to take a moment to update us and share what's going on in your business and in your life, this is your time to do so.
Just unmuted there. Our business is moving along just fine, although slowly. We finance solar for commercial enterprises, including for-profits, nonprofits, and government, commercial scale. I mean, things have slowed down some, but I'm glad to see that the industry keeps working out there. The installers, they were at the beginning more or less forbidden to work, and then there were some exceptions. And so our projects that we're funding are still being completed. We're very anxious to do more storage. It's an exciting, not exactly new, but there's going to be more and more demand for it. Anyway, I look forward to more and more projects as we get through this virus and the fires. Thank you for giving me the chance to talk.
Thank you, Jerry. It's good to have you be a part of this group, and I'm happy to give everyone a moment here to share. I'm just moving across the screen here, and I see Mary Munot. Mary, you're going to be next. I know you've asked a couple questions, but this is your chance as peer-to-peer sharing to tell us a little bit about your business, Green Mary. I'm also curious to know about the nonprofit that you've started. That's new information for me. So introduce yourself and tell us what it is you're doing. Share with the group.
Thank you so much, Duran. It's wonderful to be here with you all this morning, albeit distantly. I have unstable internet connection, which is why I'm in a woodshed up in Humboldt. I've run away or run 2 opportunities up in Humboldt. And The nonprofit arm, well, Green Mary had been doing and will do again event waste diversion around the San Francisco Bay Area for the last 20 years. Yes, Duran, 20 years since Solar Living Institute and Soul Fest, we worked together. Our nonprofit arm is just launching Green Mary Goodworks, Goodworks with an E. And in the pandemic, when the events haven't been happening, Green Mary has pivoted to do work with Bay Area nonprofits like Sonoma Food Runners and the Berkeley Free Clinic to do tasks like food rescue and redistribution, bringing water to homeless camps, doing homeless camp, river and beach cleanup, all manner of anything that we can get involved in that supports nonprofits that don't tend to have funds for these vital efforts. So we're loving doing that work. And since there's no money for it, I decided to launch the nonprofit and go after funds to continue that do good work. I'm living half-time in Humboldt and half-time in Sebastopol. And up here in Humboldt, I'm reaching out to do cannabis industry greening, both the legal grows and the illegal grows, where they've taken over areas of the federal parks, the federal lands, and when they get busted, they abandon and leave all manner of equipment, tools, supplies behind. So the government is looking for help to clean those camps up. And the legal grows will be a little bit more satisfying, I think, but both present opportunities. And I did want to share that I did just do the Me and White Supremacy course through the Center for Spiritual Living, 6 weeks with 28 days of regular reading and analysis and journaling. And it was I'm looking at the world and relations, race relations in particular, in a whole new way. And I so appreciate this ongoing commitment and work in our collective community. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Mary. This is a key part of what this group is about, is giving us all an opportunity to share. And I appreciate all the good work you're doing and the heart that you bring to everything. So thank you. And it's great to have you be part of this group. As moving through my screen, I see Emily next. Emily, why don't you give us a little update on what's happening at Y Green? I know you guys passed some benchmarks recently and interesting things happening in the world of PACE financing. Why don't you share a little bit about what's going on with you guys?
Sure. So I think most folks here are familiar with PACE Energy, PACE financing. We are, Y Green, are a leading residential and commercial PACE provider in California. We have markets in Florida and Missouri. We actually have a very robust diversity and inclusion workforce training program that was launched when we started our program in Missouri, called MOSED. And I can put a link in there to that great work. We've gotten some awards for that. And we're looking to actually develop something like that, possibly in California, and doing it thoughtfully, not in just a sort of knee-jerk reaction to what's going on in the community, but really kind of a long-term corporate social responsibility commitment. So that's absolutely in the beginning stages, but just know that we are thinking about that. You know, PACE really, I would like to say more than anything, is sort of the great equalizer in terms of financing options compared to traditional lending products. And so a lot of our clients are folks that simply don't have other options because of either lack of credit, concerns about tapping into their credit, wanting to keep that for a nest egg for other emergency purposes, or perhaps college tuition for their children. And so PACE really allows an additional alternate to get home improvement and commercial property improvement projects completed. And this is particularly important for residential property owners, in that it serves a much broader, more diverse customer base than traditional lending options ever have done. And we've seen that in the data. And so we're really proud of that fact. It was sort of a hypothesis that that might be true when we launched a decade ago, but the numbers bear out that this is really an incredible option for making financing more accessible to communities of color, to traditionally disadvantaged communities, and to folks, single moms, senior citizens that don't have options because of a number of different reasons based on credit means. So PACE is truly the great equalizer. I love to say that, and happy to share more about Y Green's success in this climate offline.
Thank you, Emily. I appreciate that. And thank you for providing us both an update and a context. I just want to kind of call out some of the folks I'm going to mention. I'm going to bring up here Thor and Dana and Jim Happ. I'd like to, and maybe someone from Sonoma Clean Power. I know Nathan just left, but maybe Erica in a couple of minutes, you can give us a little update. But Thor, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's happening at Osmosis? Must be a difficult time for you guys.
Yeah, it has been, extremely difficult being closed from March 17th until June 22nd, when we were finally able to reopen. And then by July 13th, we were closed again as we pivoted to be able to provide services in an outdoor environment. We reopened again with just outdoor services, have relocated one of our cedar enzyme tubs outside. In the meantime, we completed a project that we knew would take months in the making. Never thought we'd have that opportunity to do it while, because financially to give up 3 months of revenue was going to be a tough decision, and then the opportunity presented itself. So we did a renovation that of our shower areas. That's an amazing result. Just waiting for the day where we can finally demonstrate that and to our customers, because we can work indoors. So it's been really tough, although during that time I was also elected president of Green Spawn Network, and have had 8 new board members join us. Really great energy from this new group of people on our board. Really excited about the future. GSN Planet is the name of the trade organization that helps sustainability practices within the spa and wellness industries. We've had to pivot. We had our buyers network scheduled for May of this year, and had to postpone that until April of next year, and hopefully we can make that event happen, because that's very instrumental in keeping the organization going. So, and Wanda, I just wanted to thank you for your presentation.
Osmosis Day Spa has been a support of the Climate Center for many years, and we really appreciate you guys continuing to do so during these difficult times. And for those of you who have not visited Osmosis, their enzyme baths are amazing. Dana, I see you. Thank you for joining us today, both by phone during your commute and now from your office in person. Why don't you give us a little update from your work, how things going in the solar industry? What can you share with us?
Yeah, sure. Good morning. Hi, all. So solar's been crazy. Like everybody else, we had a crazy year. We could not get on roofs and install for, it's like six, 7 weeks. So that was a big hit in the spring. We were allowed construction back on roofs, so installing like crazy. Some of you may have remembered a couple meetings ago, I don't remember if it was December or February, when I got up in the room and said, this is after the PSPS events last October, where people had their power off for a week, but the solar industry switched. We're almost more of a battery storage company now that puts solar on with it, but that's all anybody wants to talk about. Tons of battery storage going in to keep the lights on. You back it up with solar, then you can run down your battery and charge it up every day. It's kind of an interesting time, because batteries are, we're on the beginning of the curve. It's super expensive, kind of frothy, and people coming in and out of the market. Sometimes we tell customers, if you can wait a year or two, everything's going to be cheaper, easier. Same amount of money will get you a lot more battery. But the blackouts are here. We've already had some PSPS event here in Santa Rosa. Just as a reminder, because you guys are out in the community, the tax credits that help our industry, it's not inexpensive. And the tax credits help, but the 22% tax credit, if installed this year, is going to, 26 is going to drop to 22% next year. And for residential, goes away completely. So it's going to be a super crazy year. And if you got friends or families or kicking tires yourself, definitely don't procrastinate. get in the queue early next year so you get installed reasonably and you're not one of those people who's trying to call last minute to get the tax credit. And if you have solar and get a storage battery, you can piggyback that tax credit and get a tax credit on the battery too. So it's going to be super kind of busy and crazy. And if you're a commercial business, that tax credit goes from 22% next year to drops down to 10. And there's longer lead times with commercials. So we're actually getting kind of that point where you need to get under contract in the next 6 months. So anyway, solar's all busy and crazy. A lot of the installers are already full for the year. All anybody wants to talk about is batteries. So it's kind of weird that we just, we're telling people no every day. And I know there's a huge part of the community that is literally shut down and not open for business. So it's a little crazed, and we feel a little fortunate that we do have business.
Yeah, thank you, Dana. I mean, this is definitely a time to count those blessings that we do have, as so much of the world is closed around us. And so I try to do that every day. Also, thankful to be able to continue the good work with all of you. Jim, I see your video and your microphone are off. Oh, you're coming back. LabCon is in the medical device business. Has this been an interesting time? What can you tell us about what's happening at LabCon?
Yeah, we're really busy. Thanks for hosting this, and thanks, Wanda, for the presentation. It was a great presentation. We are over the top crazy. Last year in normal times, a big seller for us would have been 5,000 cases a year of a product. And now people call saying, I need 5,000 cases this week of a product. We're not built to be that company, but we are transitioning. My fear is going into debt severely and then having the pandemic end a year from now and having a lot of debt where that capacity is no longer needed. So we are weighing our strategy for growth. And also, we are dealing with the virus. We've had 6 cases directly of the virus in our population, and then counting extended family, about 15 cases of the virus. So we've had up to 20 people quarantined at a time due to contact tracing. Right now, we're back to full strength. We've got nobody quarantined. The last person has come back that's had the virus. So it remains a challenge to run a 24-hour-a-day manufacturing operation with 225 people. We are lucky to be in business. We are lucky that we have never slowed down, but I've never had such challenging times in my career. And thank you again for putting this on and hosting this. And we are true believers in the climate and doing the right thing. We looked at adding another commercial solar array at LabCon, and for tax purposes, we probably should have done it, but at the time, we didn't know if it made sense. And I think we will eventually. We built a new building and the roof is set up and the infrastructure is in for solar, so we will continue on our path. Thanks, Duran.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it, and thanks for giving us the update. I'm glad you're busy, but I'm sorry to hear you've been dealing with coronavirus. I thought about that. You guys have a large indoor production facility, and as we know, those are sometimes the places where transmission happens. I'm glad to hear everybody's better and back at work, and I wish the best of health to all of your staff and your team.
Thank you.
Welcome. Erica, are you available to give us a little update from Sonoma Clean Power? I see you're the representative still with us and would love to hear from you.
Sure. So Sonoma Clean Power is extremely busy right now, as I'm sure most of you can imagine, dealing with flex alerts and PSPS and all those kind of things. But in addition, we are working on getting our Advanced Energy Center up and running in Santa Rosa. It'll be on 4th Street. We're hoping to open that late fall or maybe early winter this year, and that will have a variety of new energy efficient technologies that you can come check out, touch, feel, ask questions about, And then if you want to buy them, we can hook you up with a contractor who's qualified to install that rebate, or excuse me, that equipment, and offer on-bill 0% financing for our residential customers. So we're really hoping this will help change the market and move us towards more electrification. In addition, if you want to check out our programs, we have lots to offer right now that are all on our website, so sonomacleanpower.org, including programs for commercial customers such as resiliency and auditing. Finally, I just want to do a shout out to the Career Technical Education Foundation, which is a great local nonprofit here who helps develop workforce training and pathways for kids who don't see college in their future. They are having their annual event this year next Tuesday, the 22nd, starts at 4:30. It's free. Please come check it out. Visit their website at ctefoundation.org. Thanks.
Thank you, Erica, and thank you for all the good work that Sonoma Clean Power does in our community. We really appreciate your support. We appreciate you being here and everything you're doing to help, help us get to our goals. We have a few more people that I'd like to call on. I see some guests who are here. We've got a little bit of time. Artie, I'd like to call on you if you've got a moment to perhaps tell us a little bit about who you are and your company. Do you have a moment to share? I see your microphone and video are off. There you go. Go ahead, Artie.
Hi. Thanks for the opportunity. It was great to joining today and really enjoyed listening to all of you guys. Pleasure. A little bit about what we are doing. So we are in the development and also investment of solar plus storage projects that fit into the distribution grid. Our target is to create more resiliency for communities and neighborhoods. We are working more front of the meter, less behind the meter. And we are serving CCAs. So we put all the work in the early stage in for the pre-assessment and the development to understand opportunities, connect directly to landowners, and create the opportunity through the interconnection and permitting process and everything that's necessary for the development. Happy to join you and be part of this, hopefully in the nearest future. And yeah, glad. Thank you.
And thank you, Artie. And just before you go, just tell everyone the name of your company.
Yes, it's a good point. So Suntech Power, that's how we are working as of today. We're planning a restructuring. That's why I'm a little bit cautious with the name. Hopefully, you're going to see us soon as a kind of a new restructured company, more controlled from Japan. Our parent is today Japan, and the idea is we are fully separated from the module manufacturing business and have kind of no relation to that business anymore. That's the thought. So as of today, Suntech Power. In the future, we're going to have kind of a new name.
You're muted, Duran.
Can you hear me now? Okay, I see all the heads nodding. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, Chris. I did just see a note from you. I'll get to your comment in just a moment. You've got an update for us on your California operations. I did see a couple of other folks here, Scott, Christine, and Danielle. We've got a few minutes left. Scott, if you would like to take a moment to introduce yourself and give us an update from your perspective, that would be great. I see you're still muted. If you'd like to join us, please unmute yourself. You can have a moment. Perhaps if Scott is not hearing this, I'll get back to you, Scott. How about Christine Bennett? Christine, would you like to share an update with us? Thank you for turning on your camera too.
Sure would. Yeah, if I could get it working here, that would be even better. Can you guys see me? Let's see.
No, not really. Oh, there you are.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Good to see some familiar faces. Ellen and Barry and hello. It's been a while. It's been a while. So my name is Christine. I run a small business here out of Petaluma called Clean Tech Communication. We specialize in public relations and marketing communications for clean tech companies. Been on the solar coaster for about 12 years now. So a lot of folks in the room I know. Very honored that Blue Planet Energy is a current client. So very, very interested to hear from everybody today and all the progress that's happening in the clean energy space. I'm a huge supporter of grid alternatives, have been volunteering and a business supporter for about 10 years now. So really, really grateful for that presentation today. And thank you so much for the time and effort that was put into that. I guess my message to everybody here is, despite the pandemic and despite the literal smoke and ash we've all been living in for the past 4 weeks, I'm hopeful. And I think being together with everybody today has really helped me with that. Getting together like this with like-minded folks and remembering the movement that we're all part of and that we're making so much progress despite short-term setbacks has been just a real joy. So thanks everybody for today.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you for being here. And we hope you'll continue to be part of this group. We'll talk about that later. So we're really glad that you could join us. Let's see, who haven't we heard from yet? Danielle Baker. Danielle, would you like to say a couple of words? If you can hear me, go ahead.
I'm with Sonoma Clean Power, so Erica's update kind of, encompasses Scott and I as well. So I have nothing else to update.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. I did not recognize your name. It's very nice to meet you. I appreciate you popping on to let us know that. And thank you also, Scott, for dropping your logo in there so I can see. Scott, is there anything you'd like to add? Do you have anything you'd like to share personally?
Danielle said it great. I work on the customer service team with Danielle and Erica, and I specialize in supporting our small business customers. So I've been really excited to hear what's been presented here today. I'm inspired again to get out and make sure our customers get the services they need. And my primary focus right now is helping our small business customers employ storage for resiliency, and also the entourage, I'm not saying that right, but their ability to arbitrage their energy costs. Thank you. So, that's been a struggle, particularly recently, as the customers that most need it have been facing, the dire straits of smoke and fire. But I'm going to reach out to a number of the people here. Some of you already know. Good to see your faces again, and get that program rolling again. So it's battery storage for small business customers.
Wonderful. Thank you, Scott. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. I'm going to turn to Chris here in just a moment, but I noticed a couple other people. If anybody else would like to make a comment, if you have not yet had a chance to do so, please put up your hand or turn on your camera and put on your hand. If I don't see you, while I wait for that, I will turn to Chris, who had an update for us in addition to the general overview. You've got something about the California market in particular that you'd like everybody to know about.
Sure, just to share that we're, despite the craziness of pandemic and fires and everything, are moving forward on opening up a California operation. So we do have a couple job positions that are open on our website associated with our commercial product and the services and offering there. And then it looks like most likely we'll be in the East Bay. We'll be opening up a facility, but still finalizing some details there, but just part of making sure we can provide better local service center activities, as well as advance some of our research and development around the product, and really just want to have more of our team local. And we're all pretty distributed right now, but this will be our next node in the expansion from the islands.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm glad to hear that you guys are expanding into our area, and a lot of people are talking about storage. Clearly, that's a huge part of where this climate movement needs to go. As I'm looking around, I don't see any other hands. Ellen, I see you here. You've been working a lot. I'll get to you in a second, Barry. Thank you. But Ellen, perhaps you've been working a lot on sort of like connecting and communications with some of our business folks. Is there anything you'd like to add or share?
Well, thank you, Doron. It's been a pleasure to interview some of your supporters and our supporters. They're fantastic people, and it's just a real kick to get to know them and very inspiring. I want to also mention that through the Climate Center, Ann Hancock connected me with a videographer, producer, doing a Get Out the Vote video mostly for young people. It's really cool. I could send it to everyone. There's a big launch party on Friday, and I was so privileged to be part of that. It was just super exciting. And breathe deeply when the air is good. That's all.
Wonderful. So I did notice a couple other hands go up, Barry and Lorianne. So Lorianne, did you have your hand up? Is there something you wanted to add? No? Just feeling happy, getting through it all, happy to breathe the clean air. Barry, I'm going to give the last word to you before I conclude this and send us all off to the rest of our days.
Great. Thank you, Doron. And thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Wanda, for that very inspiring presentation. And I think I'm going to be reflecting on that map video for quite a while. That was quite, it was disturbing and compelling. I just wanted to say at the beginning, Doron started out by asking everybody to endorse Climate Safe California, and I want to encourage you to do that. And I also want to just say something about the moment we're in. With all the fires, these historic fires, not just in California, but in Oregon and Washington. We've got hurricanes, hitting the South Coast, brewing in the Atlantic. We have, major flooding happening. And the governor of California has said some pretty interesting things lately. He has acknowledged that California's targets are not adequate for the enormity of the crisis we face, and we completely concur with that. But the question is, what's he going to do about it? And that depends, I think, partly on him and his advisors and partly on us. So sometimes just endorsing something can seem, somewhat meaningless. But I want to tell you that it's super important right now that people really line up behind the aggressive policies that are needed, that the science requires for a safe, sustainable climate. And when we get in front of legislators and we get in front of the governor's office, having business members signed up for that is hugely important. So I'm going to encourage you all again. I will put the link in the chat to think about that. It is a meaningful thing. And if you go on our website and you read the Climate Safe California platform, and there's anything in there that you feel uncomfortable with or have questions about, please contact us. Your input is incredibly important to us. This is a work in progress. This is such a comprehensive campaign. We're not talking about a year, we're talking about a decade, to get these things in place and implemented. So, we don't pretend that we have it completely dialed in, but we think we have a really, really strong framework that we've gotten lots of feedback for, and we're always open to more. So I just wanted to give you that heartfelt plea, because I really do think we're in a moment right now. And we've been talking internally, like this is kind of Governor Newsom's Winston Churchill moment. And like, is he gonna step up? And people step up a lot better when they feel like we've got their back. So have his back, endorse Climate Safe California, and as Ellen said, enjoy the clean air. Let's hope we have it for a while.
Thank you, Barry. Absolutely wonderful pitch for our Climate Safe California platform. We hope everyone will endorse it. Mary, one last comment from you. You just dropped something in the chat you wanted to share with the group. If I want to give you just a quick moment to do so.
Okay, I was asking if you wanted to do it, but wanted to let everyone know that volunteers with the Climate Center, Mike Turgeon, Jane Bender, and Paula Fogarty are doing regular Zoom presentations for the Climate Center that are very informative and cool. They're quick activations. And we're looking for people to do those Zooms as community activists and people that are well networked so that you can then reach out to your peeps, train them. And it's really cool. There's like a twice weekly email that says, here's what's up, here's how to reach out to your elected representative. And it's so user friendly. I'm not that tech savvy, and it's been really compelling and easy for me to jump in on. And I'm sure Duran can share how to get involved with that.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you for that third-party endorsement of our work. Really appreciate that. I just want to say one more time before we all leave how much I appreciate each and every one of you, both for being here today and more importantly for the work you do every day in the community, in your businesses, with your employees, with your staff, with your families, with your children, with friends' children. All of this is part of what we need to do collectively. So check out the Climate Safe California link. I do want to mention our next breakfast will be in December, so stay tuned for details on that. We do these once a quarter, but there's lots of stuff happening at the Climate Center. We do these Climate Fridays. Our next one is a week from this Friday on the 25th. Ellie Cohen, our CEO, will be hosting a discussion on clean transportation. Should be really interesting. So check that out on our website and look for the many other programs that we make available to you, our members. Thank you, Wanda. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you, Chris and Olaf, for sharing your work. Thank you, Ken and Dana and Scott and Christine and everyone for being here. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Barry. Thank you all. I really appreciate you all. I look forward to the day where we can see each other in person again. In the meantime, maybe I'll run into you in the street with our masks on and we can bump elbows. But in the meantime, take care, be good to each other, be kind, and we'll see you all soon. All right? Aloha.
Thanks, everyone. Keep up the good work.
Thank you all. All right.
Stays.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Artie. Barry, stick around. See you later, man.